Today in this video, we will talk about DUOT. Yes, a stocker symbol that most probably you never heard of because it's just like $400 million market cap, give or take. And I discovered this stock and I think that this could be the next Iron or Applied Digital or Wolf, right? It's a very small cap, but the potential is absolutely phenomenal. We will dive into here in deep dive in my investment thesis. If you like that, make sure to subscribe and let's dive in.
Welcome to the game, I'm the Wolf of Dubai.
Welcome to a brand new video. My name is Danny and I'm trying to find stocks before they explode, and you might be early on one of the biggest AI plays that is very cheap right now. We are talking about DUOT, okay? DUOT is a company that just did a pivot and creates like edge data centers, okay? But before we diving into that, make sure to subscribe to all of my channels, my X account, my colleague Michele Xtend Stocks, and check out xtenddaytrading.com where we trade for you all automatically. Obviously, our members get the first call when it goes to this long-term investments as well. They get my thesis very, very early and they can invest early. But the most important is about xtenddaytrading.com that we trade for you. Like today, we traded, for example, Wolf, and we made a nice profit for all of our members. If you want to join us before we raising our joining fee, make sure to check it out. And I see you obviously on the website xtenddaytrading.com. You see how many places are available for this month before we're raising our joining fee. And with that said, let's dive into the most interesting stock that I found over the last couple of months. All right, let's go through the investment thesis of DUOT, our new ticker that I want to cover here on my brand new channel. So as you can see, we did put a lot of work into that. Currently, we have a $400 million company, micro cap, very, very small still, and over 176 million in contracted work or revenue for the next couple of years. So our target is more than 75 over the last or the next 12 months. So you can see a lot of room to gain. Okay, so what do? They essentially do EDC hosting. So they essentially take like a shipping container, build it up as a data center, and can move that anywhere in the world, right? And where this is essentially interesting is when, for example, self-driving cars need to have the latency. So let's say time a signal goes from A to B, as faster that goes, as better, because this microsecond can let a self-driving car brake faster when there's something happening, right? So some things like that, or for example, when you need like a data center just owned for you, for your data, but you don't want to keep it at Amazon Web Services and mixed up with other data also, and so on. So it's a very growing, very niche space. And the great thing is that we know that the current situation for the data centers, they take a lot of time. Here, they are building them on average for the people that directly want to move ahead, right? So they're building them already to have them in their warehouse, ready to go. They need 90 days that they equip them with the equipment and they can send them out. So I think that this is something quite interesting. That's how we actually find them. And if you compare those market caps to the big other AI players like NBIS, Iron, Wolf, or APLD, we are still like very, very far away, right? So I think that what is happening and what can happen is essentially that we will get a lot of more backlog offers and revenue contracts for this company. And this is how we will grow. I think that, we are still in a very young phase where they go from the old business, which essentially was like using AI to look through rail inspections. So they inspect like trains in an AI way. They just, the trains had to go through it and they analyze it. And then they had this energy business where they said, okay, we actually can now make a lot of money on data centers. So this, guy who's now the CEO of DUOT came from that section, which is also a very nice way to see, okay, like this is something that is very much going to the right direction. So I think similar with those other names that I just showed you, contracts that will come in. They say also they have a lot of interest from, scalers, hyperscalers. So we will see those coming in, those news. You can see here that we are essentially having like a PS ratio, very much gapping through all the other things that we are seeing on the markets right now. Okay, so especially the CEO change was quite a very interesting change, which shows you how the company is serious about the data center infrastructure experience. So the new CEO is Doug Recker. And one of the funny things he actually said on the earnings call, where he was asked, like, what about the competition, is that, he said, like, I say it to every client. I said, like, come to us and see, have a look for this, your data center, your new data center, do this with any competition company, and I even will pay the flights to this competition, because that will never happen because they don't have them, right? So this is a very confident guy that is running this company right now, which I really like. So they essentially got this 176 million GPU contract that changes obviously everything, right? That is 40% of the market cap, and I think more of those will essentially come in. It has a very, very high margin of 80%, which is absolutely insane. So that's essentially what is a very underserved market, okay, with the small data centers that you can plug in anywhere, just where you need them, where cities are interesting to have them. Then there's like essentially one additional point, which is maybe like under discussed in the market. I mean, this company is not discussed at all in the market, right? So that's why I love it so much. But I think that they have like a 5% profit agreement with the company. They did like a sweat deal, sweat equity move, where they essentially went in with a big investor. The big investor bought a lot of turbines, the same model that XAI is using. And Elon Musk just announced that they bought 2 billion worth of this kind of turbines. So it's not clear yet how this will play out, but it could be that Elon Musk essentially bought these turbines or got his hands on these turbines. And with that, DUOT gets another kickback, which would be also amazing, right? We don't know how this is essentially coming back as a revenue. There is some revenue on that. Even when they just like lease them to XAI, the turbines, DUOT gets like a maintenance contract or is already contracted to run those turbines. Okay. And they have another business where they help people to build data centers as well, which is quite interesting. But the main business is now to deploy those big companies for this, small data centers, right? And then you can see here how much they get. In a bull case, they would get about like 120 million revenue. So you can see if we apply just the crazy valuations right now, then the stock can be much, much higher, right? So a quant fund is already in. This is a fund that is managing about like $60 billion. So they have a quite big position. If you're looking into these companies like Iron or APLD, DUOT is now there where they were like 18 months ago, right? So that's essentially what is the opportunity here. You can see over the next couple of quarters, we will see the inflection point where does Hydra Host revenue come in. Hydra Host, by the way, is a company that is backed by Peter Thiel, so not a small run company as well. Okay, so then you can see here how profitable it is. Those bigger pots that they create can bring up to 40 million EBITDA per year, which is fantastic. So if they have a kind of multiple of those, then you can have here the implied valuations, right? I like it that it's not covered at all by any YouTuber or any analyst out there, which is always great. And then you can see here the run rate the next 5 years could be over 350 million in revenue, while we know in these companies right now what really matters is the backlog, right? And when the next next big company comes and say like, hey, we want to place like $1 billion worth of this data centers, then here we are, right? So then I said like, okay, what would Peter Lynch, legendary 10-bagger investor, look at this and say? And he really like a couple of things, like that is a micro cap below 2 billion, which it is. It's a boring, undiscovered story where you have the railway and it's the AI pivot. Then you have the Wall Street that is not covering it at all. Then you have, a lot of real cash flow coming in, a good insider, CEO. You have a niche that not many can enter. By the way, this is essentially also that I will discuss tomorrow. They have a lot of patents for that as well. Then they have like 85% of revenue grow, right? And it's like a very, very nice score. If you look into the, EPS growth rate, which will be around like 206, and the stock price right now, you can see the PEG ratio is extremely low. Everything below 1 is amazing, right? So you can see here that Peter Lynch would love this company. Then you can see here what is amazing about DUOT is that they are essentially having those pods ready to go in the warehouse and can deploy so much faster in 3 months when you have like other companies needing until 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. So that's very amazing. And we have a couple of, kind of catalyst. The next one is I think on the 27 or 28, where they have like they're visiting like an event where there's like a lot of institutional people, so there could be a big money flow into the stock as well over the next couple of days. You can see here in the most bearish case that we have, we think that the stock can go up 3 times from about like $14. And I think that the stock can go minimum to 75 over the next couple of months. Okay. So you can see here, I will just go through that. A little bit of risk is always there, as we know. Don't buy options on this thing, just buy the stock and you will be very happy. But you can see here that the execution, customer concentration, dilution, all of that is very risky in this company. Obviously, it's very interesting, but you can see here there's a nice way to play this with a stop loss and so on. But to be honest, if you buy the stock, you don't need to look into stop loss that much, in my personal opinion, because I'm a long-term believer in this company. But you can see here that, it's one of the very cheapest AI infra companies in the market. So let's go back to the vlog. As you can see, super interesting stock here that we have. Let me know what you think. Are you already investing into this space? Are you interested in DUOT? You want to see more videos? Let me know. Check out xndaytrading.com and I see you tomorrow, because the grass is greener always on the other side.